Game day's here, I can hear the crowd. Turn on the lights, fans are cranked up and loud. Red or blue, we wear it proud. Yeah, we love our teams in this border town. Chiefs and Royals, Boo Mizzou, Rock Chalk, Jayhawk, KU. Hear that drum pounding in your feet. Yeah, you're marching to the beat of KC.
What is going on, YouTube? What is going on, Kansas City? And what is going on, everybody? And welcome to the Beat of KC. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lucas Murphy, and I have the pleasure of bringing you Kyle Collier from 810 WHBA producer. Super excited to have him on because we're going to be talking Kansas Jayhawks basketball. And to be honest with you, and to be frank with you, I didn't think I would be talking about Kansas basketball at this point. Season's over. But here we are, and, it's a different time, and that's really where I'm going to start. But first, Kyle, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Lucas, even though, the Kansas basketball season ended prematurely, a lot earlier than I definitely thought it would, when you first brought me on this channel. But, no, I'm glad to be back on the channel, dude.
Heck yeah, man. It just didn't shake out too well. Like, we didn't really get a good draw. And then we just, down that stretch, you and I talked about it in multiple videos, like the scoring was just disappearing. Darren Peterson was just a weird factor in a lot of it. And that's really I want to start big picture. I want to act like we're in space right now and really just look at the entire landscape of college basketball before we really narrow in on Lawrence, Kansas. Really just what are your thoughts right now of how the entire landscape of college basketball is? And I think what's super interesting, man, is last night was the national championship. And immediately following the national championship, the transfer portal opens up. And within not even 24 hours, 1,000 college basketball players entered that portal. So what are your thoughts right now on the landscape of college basketball?
Yeah, man. I want to say the number total has surpassed 1,500. In the transfer portal, and the number's only going to keep rising. Yeah, dude, I feel like there should be some sort of off season, some sort of grace period, post regular season, or not regular season, post tournament season, and then of course post national championship. Just let the fan base breathe a little bit, right? Because I don't know, I feel like college basketball fans they have to get right on the next thing, and then the portal opens, and I feel like you can hardly celebrate Michigan or just the season in general. They drop one shining moment, and it's like, all right, we're going to the portal. Who's entering the portal, right? Time to build our rosters. Yeah, as a fan of the sport and college basketball, just in general, I feel like it's just more of a, it's a run and gun betting market all of a sudden, right? Like, I feel like we're not really appreciating, I guess, the beauty of the sport, because that tournament was awesome, right? I had a ton of fun watching it, even though, my team got bounced early, but there's lots of great stories, right? I feel like we should be spending the week talking about that instead of, okay, who's Bill Self going to get,
Right, man.
And who's Bill Self going to lose?
Yeah. I think what's incredible is, honestly, it's how many kids entered the portal and really why people are entering the portal. I mean, the whole idea, and I think it really kind of put it into perspective for me today, because we literally have 3 players remaining on the Kansas roster. 3 guys that were on this team last year. I mean, Sam is Calderon. I always forget the kid from Oak Park. And then you got Cole Rosario. You literally have 3 guys. Everybody else either graduated and moved on because they're out of eligibility, or they entered the transfer portal. And so my first question, now that we're honed in on Lawrence, Kansas, is really what I want to get after is, do you think it's normal? Because a lot of people are saying, and you go on social media, a lot of people say, this is happening across all of college basketball. I can't honestly say that every team in the country, his entire roster just disappears year in and year out. Like, this is now, at least in my mind, I can for sure say 2 years, but 3 years it feels like, where the season ends, like you said, and immediately it's like everybody's gone. And so I guess my question to you is like, do you feel that is normal across college basketball? Or Is there something specific that goes on with Kansas? Do you think the coaching staff is driving these players out potentially? Do you think that they're truly just seeking the money or playing time, whatever it may be? Because my perfect example here is, why is Jamari McDowell leaving the Kansas Jayhawks? Personally, in my opinion, this is the epitome. This is the elite of the elite. Kansas basketball is a blue blood. And I know many times on your guys' show, the idea of blue blood is kind of disappearing. But to me, still, Kansas basketball is a tradition. And it just seems like a guy like Jamari McDowell, where is he going to go that is going to bring that environment? Now, I get that he didn't play probably to the standard that he was expecting. There's a lot of factors to that. But still, in my opinion, where are you going to go that is going to provide you that exact experience? I don't see him going and playing for a Kentucky or a North Carolina or a UConn. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. And, like the first question you asked me about college basketball, it's just it's a different game now. A ton of players are going to hit the portal like we've seen with Kansas the last couple of years. But, not all of them are looking to leave. A lot of it is just, putting myself on the market. I'm testing the free agent market. That's what I'm doing, right? I'm betting on the year that I just had. I want to see maybe a lesser Big 12 school will give me a bag to go play for them, right? Jamari McDowell maybe wants a starting position. And, frankly, I mean, these teams have exit interviews and stuff like that, end of the year reviews. Bill Self may have put a budget together, may have put a plan together, and it didn't include Jamari McDowell, right, in that starting five. And maybe Jamari wants more for himself. But, yeah, to just answer your broader question, why is it kind of happening at Kansas these last couple of years? Man, I want to say it's just Bill Self just, testing out what he can do in this NIL era. Because the last couple of years it didn't work, and it felt like, okay, we're going to scrap and rebuild. Okay, we're going to scrap and then rebuild. And then he did it. Now he's doing it again. I got a couple of theories on this. His statement said renewed clarity, right? Jesse Newell said it on Stephen St. John's show last week that renewed clarity is just, I've got a giant budget this year. It's the last ride. And frankly, I think all Kansas fans should be excited for that, because I think they're going to try to send Bill Self off with his best shot, right? We're going to drop him a giant bag. He's going to have a blank check to go get any of the players that he wants, and Tiller hitting the portal, Badunga hitting the portal. Bill Self does have a good class coming in, and the number one recruit in the nation is still undecided, right? But I would say that the crystal ball favors Kansas over Kentucky right now for Tyrant Stokes. Bill Self is likely putting a plan together for his final year, and maybe told a couple of these dudes, hey, you're not going to be as in the cards as you thought you were going to be. For a guy like Bryson Tiller, though, I think he's just putting himself out there to see, I don't know, maybe it is the money, because with Flory hitting the portal as well, correct me if I'm wrong, Lucas, but Flory hit the portal last year with a do not contact tag on. This year he did not. Right. So the Bryson Tiller one confounds me, and I know I'm going all in just sort of different directions here, but I want to trust that Bill Self has a plan in place, and guys like Jamari McDowell and just weren't on tap for it.
Right. No, I 100% agree with the idea of that, because I mean, every one of these guys at this point probably have an agent. They have people that are talking to them and communicating to them. And Bryson Tiller, I mean, is probably a sought out commodity. He was very raw. There's flashes of just absolute excellence. There's flashes of youth and mistakes. And we've talked about that on a ton, but it's, hey, I'm going to go test this and see what kind of money I can make. Come back and see if you're willing to pay me that. And that's where we're at. That's literally the landscape of college basketball. And that's, I saw today, and I will absolutely botch the name, so I'm not even going to attempt it. But that center that absolutely destroyed us in Allen Fieldhouse for Cincinnati decided to enter the portal. The 7'2" guy that can shoot, can do everything, that just was absolutely insane. It's like, could you imagine him paired with a guy like Bryson Tiller? And I'm like thinking to myself, that is really the type of mentality we need to have. And where I'm going to go with this is, I'm not absolutely devastated. And I talked to a few of my friends. You almost can't get attached to any players anymore. Before, in the past, we've talked, in the Final Four, I've asked you, who's your favorite Kansas basketball player? And we've always kind of gone, a little bit, I would say, when we were winning national championships, those types of guys that were here 3 to 4 years and committed their entire basketball career to Kansas, and they're going to be hanging in the rafters, and those types of players, those just don't exist anymore. Like, it's just not the case. And it's almost extremely hard to really say, like, that guy's my favorite because he might only be here a year. And it's not because of going to the NBA. It's because, hey, I'm going to go somewhere else because I want to get money. And I think that's where I'm currently at with Flory Badunga. I think he's a great basketball player. Do I think he's NBA worthy or NBA caliber? No, not at this moment. And I think that's silly I think it's good that he's testing that, but we're just normal fans. We watch this. I don't agree that he is ready for the NBA. And so for him to just want to leave Kansas, it just seems strange to me. And I'm not really emotionally sad about it, if I'm being frank with you. Like, I'm just not. And I think what's even crazier is the fact that he's crystal balled to Texas Tech. And it's like, to me, that just extremely tells you right there that it's all about finances. It's about the money. They're going to pay him an absolute bag, like you said, for him to come to Texas Tech. And good, go do your thing, man. But when Kansas destroys you or outplays you, and then, I don't feel bad. And that's really, I think, I kind of hope he goes there, because I hope we do that to him. And, I saw him rumored to Duke. And it's like, dude, you would be the most disliked former Kansas player if you pulled some stuff like that. So I guess really my question is like, how do you feel about the whole Flory Badunga thing? I know you kind of briefly touched on, but it's strange to me.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because, in Kansas's past, they've had guys transfer away, but, nobody ever really became a villain. I feel like, some national talking heads tried to make this Zuby Ejiofor versus Kansas, when Kansas obviously lost to St. John's. They kind of wanted to make that a story. And, they got some quotes from Zuby and, Zuby's father when he left. And, but, I didn't feel there was no bad blood there, right? I don't hate Zuby Ejiofor because he left the university I went to, nothing like that. He went for, a shot, and Kansas made their choice. They chose Hunter Dickinson, right? Which, frankly, is still not a bad choice. I just think the choices around Hunter Dickinson were just not as strong. Anyways, that being said, yeah, Flory has the chance to, I think, become public enemy number one here. Like, this is the first time I think I've ever seen this. Like, Kansas fans have always had issues with players and other teams, right? I'm sure every Kansas fan hated Jacob Pullen back in the day, or briefly Michael Beasley, right? And there's lots of Missouri players, but I don't need to go down that road. Lucas, we'd be here all night. But frankly, yeah, in this modern era, Flory has the chance to absolutely just become that Kansas public enemy number one. And I don't understand it really at all. I mean, yeah, he'd also be just going to a huge rival in Texas Tech, and we know Texas Tech has money. Just look at their football team. So yeah, it's odd. As for Flory's like NBA potential, I think if he goes, he's a second rounder, and likely he's going to be in the G League for 1 to 2 years while he develops a shot. I think he has potential. He improved greatly defensively this year. Even a little bit of offensive game. He added some footwork, added some low post moves, but he still looks a little bit raw, and he'd be more of a developmental pick. I really don't understand the Texas Tech thing, because if you're at Kansas, that's where you go to develop your big man skills. And look how much it worked for you this year. I don't know. Maybe he's impatient. Maybe he's doing this because he wants a raise. We're going to find out, though.
In a market that never sleeps, one name rises above the rest. Lisa Miller from Dan Lynch Real Estate. Trusted by hundreds and recognized across the Midwest, she delivers results when it matters the most. With over 13 years of experience and licenses in both Kansas and Missouri, Lisa isn't just selling houses. She's helping you find a place to call home. Whether you are a first-time homebuyer, looking to upsize, or selling your current home, Lisa makes the process smooth and stress-free. As a local expert passionate about building lasting relationships, she ensures her clients feel confident and satisfied every step of the way. Don't wait, your perfect home is just a call away. Contact Lisa today at 913-579-3246 or 913-369-3000 or visit lisamillersaleskc.com. Let Lisa Miller at Lynch Real Estate help you start your next exciting chapter. And let her know the beat of KC, Lucas Murphy, sent you her way.
Yeah, man. And I think you guys really covered it well on your show today. Soren and obviously McDowell were talking about it. And I think Soren really kind of captured what I was trying to convey is like he was given more minutes, more opportunity this year, which then obviously when you develop and take that next step, you're going to see more production. I mean, the defensive player of the year aspect was incredible, and his ability to cover guards and move and do things that just we didn't see from him in the year prior. And, you know, it's funny you brought up Hunter Dickinson because it's like, you know, we lost Zuby because of that. There's nothing standing in front of either one of these guys. Like, if they come back, they're going to be plugged into the starting lineup. Like, that's what's crazy to me, too, is it's not like someone's standing in their way to get a starting job. Like, there's no way you're going to not start, you know, either one of Bryson Tiller or Flory Badunga. It's just not going to happen. Like, they're going to start. And so it's all about money to me. And that's what I think it's crazy. And it circled back around to where college basketball is as a landscape, man. One of the things I want to talk to you about is obviously Darren Peterson. Darren Peterson was rumored. I've seen it, you know, through the grapevine on social media. Take it for what it's worth, a grain of salt, whatever it may be. But supposedly he was on a plane the day after the season ended, and there's videos of him constantly working in the gym, and rightfully so. I mean, he's going to go to the NBA. That was the whole intent anyways. What I guess my question to you is what, now that the season's over, we've experienced and gone through the Darren Peterson experience, how would you say he is going to be kind of remembered as in the Kansas uniform?
And it's going to be remembered certainly as a disappointment overall. I mean, it's a round of 32 exit in the NCAA tournament. And, you know, Darren Peterson was healthy for, I can't even remember how many games, but, you know, he missed double digits and he had a ton of hype surrounding him. He's been tabbed as, you know, the number one pick of his draft. It feels like for a couple of years now, you know, ever since he was getting just real close to committing. We're like, you know, I remember watching highlights and just reading articles about that kid, and he was tabbed as a potential number one overall player. And then he comes to Kansas, and I mean, believe what you will. I do believe the injuries somewhat. I do believe, you know, he was not playing with the same explosiveness that he had compared to a lot of the high school tape he's put out there, or not him, but, you know, people have put out there. But ultimately, to answer your question, it was an absolute disappointment. Yeah, I don't blame him going to prepare for the NBA. He's going to go develop there. I hope he's healthy, and I hope the you know, fan reaction wasn't too hard on him. But looking at him, I really don't think he cares. So,
it's crazy, man. It's, you know, kind of, it just thinking about a flash in a pan is the best way to describe it. Like, you knew that there was a great opportunity and it just never fully developed. And I mean, he had a solid team around him. It wasn't elite, but I think it's crazy is you see a Michigan that goes out and wins the national championship. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, but I think every one of those starters was a transfer. And you look at a team like Arizona, and yeah, they go get two very talented freshmen, but majority of their guys were transfers. And so I'm kind of wondering now if to pair that with Darren Peterson, if it almost worth going after a guy like Darren Peterson and getting the number one guy, or is it just worth making sure that you ensure the transfer portal, you hit those guys, you get those guys, and that's your team, and you start to learn and develop and build cohesion around those guys. And because it's just crazy to me that Darren Peterson comes here and you would expect, I mean, there's no reason we exited the way we did. That shouldn't have happened, but it did. And yeah, to kind of wrap this portion up is just flash in the pan is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, with my answer to your previous question, I don't mean to convey any anger towards Darren Peterson. I don't blame him for for leaving the university already to go prepare for the NBA and the NBA draft. I do have, a little bit of an issue with the people who say, it was kind of Darren Peterson's fault that this year kind of fell apart. Once we started seeing him regularly, there was your chance. If you look at the numbers, guys like Jamari McDowell, Trey White, and Melvin Council even, they had a steep decline towards the end of the season in their overall shooting numbers and just efficiency. And, that takes me to my next thing. Bill Self may have to make some adjustments, in this next year. I'll call it his final year. That's my official prediction. I think this is his one more, just to send him out with a bang, I guess. But yeah, over the course of this year, we saw a lot of Cole Rosario, early in the season, and he disappeared, and then, all of a sudden we hadn't seen much Paul Mbia, who also entered the transfer portal, likely looking for a raise if he's going to see more minutes next year. Paul Mbia, we hardly see him all season. And then in the tournament, he's being relied on, for crucial minutes because, Flory can't handle all the bigs on his own because Flory's, a bouncy, athletic 6'9" power forward, 6'8", 6'9", something like that. You need some height from Paul Mbia all of a sudden. Everybody's looked at, most people are laughed at when they criticize Bill Self, right? But I think he has to make an adjustment. He's got to trust his younger players a little bit more. He's got to deepen the bench because I don't think it helped Melvin Council and Trey White at all. Their games fell off a cliff, quite frankly. That's, I can't even remember what the hell your original question was, Lucas, but that's my diagnosis of Kansas this past
You're good.
season.
That's really how I wanted this to go, is just to kind of be all over, man, because, there's a lot to talk about with this. It's just, there's so much that can be discussed about this entire thing. And yeah, I think he's been rumored to go to Maryland because obviously the money and playing opportunity. And it's crazy you say that too, because he like him, like Darren Peterson, flash in the pan, man. He gets his moment. He excels for the most part. And it's like, hey, we got some game film on him. He shows that he's capable. He's developed a little bit more, probably from going against Flory every day in practice, and now he's, going to go somewhere and probably be a starter or at least the number one guy off the bench. And yeah, it's just crazy to think that that's how it is. And, I think it's funny you say that too about Bill Self. And I think for me, one of the things I'm critical of Bill Self, and I'm hoping his staff, since he's really got a more NBA-minded aspect as well as a former, pretty high up in head coach in Washington, I'm hoping that when they address the transfer portal, that they're not going and getting guys that are like from St. Bonaventure, and nothing against Melvin Council. He was incredible, but they need to go get absolute proven talent from big premier conferences and bring those guys in and let them work. And I know it didn't work out as great as it potentially could have in the years of Hunter Dickinson, and Rylan Griffin didn't really pan out that for them. And there was a few other guys you could say the same, but I don't think just 1 year should eliminate that aspect. You should be going and getting very proven, talented guys. And like you said, if this truly is, because that is going to be one of my questions, if this truly is Bill Self's last year, you got to do it. You got to do it, man. And I think that's where we're at with that. And yeah, man, it's just, you got to improve. You got to start getting back to the Final Four, and especially if this is his last year. So that does lead me to my question, and you've hit on it a little bit, but if this truly is Bill Self's last year, do you think that he's going to announce that it's going to be his last year, or do you think that he's going to kind of just fly under the radar and just announce it at the very end, like, hey, I'm going to hang it up?
What is going on, Kansas City? The Beat of KC here. And I want to provide you an opportunity to check out one of the most coolest apparel companies that exist out there. We take pride in what we represent, and that's why the Beat of KC is teaming up with Homage, the brand built on celebrating sports, pop culture, and moments that defy us. Homage isn't just another clothing company. No, they're not. They specialize in ultra-comfortable, premium quality apparel that blends vintage vibes with modern style. We're talking buttery soft tees, ladies and gentlemen, classic graphics, throwback logos, and iconic gear that brings real-life nostalgia back to life. From repping the Kansas City Chiefs to rocking the Kansas City Royals all season long, Homage helps you wear your loyalty loud, and most definitely proud. Their designs honor legendary teams, unforgettable eras, and the culture that makes cities like Kansas City so special to you and I. And now through our partnership with the Beat of KC, you got the perfect excuse to upgrade your game day gear. Premium comfort, timeless style, pure KC pride. Make sure you guys scan that QR code if you're interested in any type of apparel related to Kansas City. Remember, Homage and the Beat of KC. Because in Kansas City, we don't just support the culture, we wear it.
Yeah, I don't think he's the type to go on a Derek Jeter farewell tour, something like that. Here's how I see it happen. I think, sometime maybe in the middle of the year, or maybe after the regular season, he wouldn't do that because that would take the focus off of basketball. Yeah, I definitely think it's after the season. He's going to call a press conference. It's going to be emotional as hell. Yeah, he's not going to drag it through the mud, I don't think.
Man, I'm going to be...
And all the while, I think Travis Goff and him have talked, obviously, and they're going to have a plan in place.
I'm going to need a box of tissues, man, and I'm not an emotional guy, but, man, that's... Bill Self is Kansas basketball to me. I mean, I grew up watching, towards the end of Roy Williams, but all I've known for my viewership has been Bill Self and what he's done for Kansas. And I'm the type too, like, it's like, how can you replace a guy like that? And I know you can. There's guys out there that I would gladly take, but it's just like, man, how do you replace the legend? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
there's no question that he's Kansas through and through, and it's just incredible, the ride. But yeah, man. So my last question for you is, obviously, we have 3 guys on this team right now, and you don't have to give me specifics, but right now, obviously, the portal is open. Are there any guys that you're hoping come to Kansas?
Yeah, to tell you the truth, I haven't looked too much into, top transfer rankings or anything like that. I know Flory's up there. I can give you the type. Kansas was pretty, I think they upgraded their athleticism big time this season, or last offseason, I should say, because this year's team was fun as hell to watch, right? When they were good, when they were clicking. They were athletes. They got up and down the court pretty fast. They could throw down when they wanted to. The lob game was seemingly back with Flory, but the shooting fell off a cliff. And I'm curious if that's just how much Bill Self just rides the starting lineup and, his 6th and 7th man all season. Maybe if that is a contributing factor to it. But frankly, I think Bill Self needs to target shooters because, it's hard to predict, but if you're just looking at the team next year, let's say Flory's back, or let's say Paul Mbia is back, Cole Rosario's back. Cole Rosario is that guy who can give you that Christian Brown defense, athleticism, just an offensive playmaker, not necessarily a sharpshooter, but I think he will improve in that area. But add shooters, because Michigan's guards, like, they had their presence inside, and they just had shooters around them, right? And frankly, and not to mention Michigan was just big as hell everywhere. So yeah, that's going to matter. It's just Bill Self needs to go get shooters. Trey White was never really known for his shooting. Melvin Council certainly wasn't, and they were playing 38, 40 minutes a night. I think Bill Self does need to make some adjustments, not just about athletes, but good shooters too.
Yeah, man, I think you nailed it, because that's exactly what I'm seeking, and nobody specific, but I always tell my buddy that I talk college basketball with, and we need to get a sharpshooter. You have to get a guy that is known for shooting the 3 ball. I mean, I was a huge fan of Grady Dick, and that's what he was ideally known for. Yes, he could drive and do all that, but you could almost count on him hitting that 3 ball. Like, we need that type of player. Like, we just have lacked a guy that is just a pure shooter as of late. And, that you could lean on and say that was kind of Darren, but Darren really wasn't elite at the end shooting the 3 ball by no means. And could he do it? Yeah, but he just wasn't known for being that sharpshooter. I would love to go get a guy that can just shoot 5 to 7 threes a night, and for sure that he's going to hit almost every one of them. That's the type of player I want. And, I think it'll be interesting to see if that type of player is even available, because I know last year there was, and he ended up choosing Florida. And I always I forget his name, but he actually didn't even pan out a whole lot. So, but man, I really just want to get a sharpshooter. I just would love to have a guy that you can rely on no matter where he's at on the floor. And change the game, man. Change the game. So we're going to wrap it up with my final four. This is my favorite segment of this entire thing. I love asking guests the final four. Number one is going to be, does Flory Badunga return to the Kansas Jayhawks?
I'm going to say yes. And my reasoning is I think Bill Self gets a bag this year. Flory wants a raise. So I'm going to say yes. I think he comes back. I don't think he wants that smoke from KU fans.
Better not. We're bringing it. Question number two is if you, obviously to me, there's, I would say 3 guys that you really kind of would like to have back in Bryson Tiller, Paul Mbia, and obviously Flory. If you had the choice to only choose one, which one are you taking?
Those 3?
Yeah.
That's tough. I'm gonna go Paul Mbia. I think Kansas needs more. I think Kansas needs more size. I trust Bill and that staff to develop a big man. Bill's best teams are when he's got a dominant big man. David McCormack was dominant in the NCAA tournament, and at times in the national championship game, he was a monster. And then Udoka Azubuike, monster. I feel like if Bill has just a threatening big man down there, he can fill out the rest. And Flory's excellent at what he does, but he's not a dominant big man. He would have gotten shut down by both guys on UConn and Michigan.
100%. And I think that, again, just to kind of double down, that's why I don't feel as bad if he does choose to not return. Like, I get what you have when you have him and how he can be that force, but he's not that true elite tall big man. Like like you said, I think McDowell even said on your guys' show today, he's like 6'7". I always said 6'8", 6'9", but McDowell said, and when they put guys on the roster and they're labeling that, they always like to put 2 inches higher. And so it would make sense. But I mean, he just, time and time again, when he would face a very athletic 7-footer, he just was getting schooled. And I think that's part of me is he doesn't have that jump shot. And I hate to be that critical of a guy that I truly enjoyed watching and I hope to return and watch again. But that's where I'm like kind of divided. I'm like, dude, if you go, I'm not going to be that heartbroken about it. Question number 3 is going to be, does Tyron Stokes choose Kansas?
I'm going to say yes. I have no real insider information or anything like that, but when Bill Self announced he was coming back, Stokes tweeted out interesting something, then deleted, and then he put out, an emoji face, something like that. I think he's down to, it was Kansas and Kentucky. I mean, right now, things are not sunshine and rainbows over there in Big Blue Nation. They are fed up with Mark Pope. They're really not happy. Maybe they give him a bag to go get Stokes and maybe try to steer the ship around in his 3rd year. But I'm going to go Kansas. There's certainly a spot on the roster, and I think Bill Self is getting a bag.
There's definitely a spot on the roster for sure. It's interesting. He tweeted he didn't tweet, he put it on Instagram. The younger generation likes to use Instagram for all their communication. He tweeted checks over stripes. I don't know if you saw that. I thought that was funny. He was just being a troll, but he obviously is affiliated or has a contract with Nike, and so he was kind of teasing that, choosing the check mark over the stripes, but I think he's just messing around. I also think it's interesting. He's supposedly going to make his decision after the Nike showcase, so it'll be kind of fascinating to see if that has any impact or not. But I believe he chooses Kansas, but we'll just have to see. My final question is, and I think I saved the best for last, I feel like. So if this is Bill Self's last ride, who do you want to be the next head coach?
Michael Malone. No.
He's taken.
That's a good point. I don't think I would hate giving Jock Vaughn a try. I know a lot of Kansas fans that are going to be up in arms about that. But you're Kansas. I feel like you should have, you should have the opportunity to call whoever the hell you want, and it starts with Tommy Lloyd.
Yeah, that's who I really want. I really want him to come, and I would be curious how close he truly was to going to North Carolina.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I mean, I truly wonder, how close it was. I know that Billy Donovan it sounded like he was pretty close to going to North Carolina, but then they basically fired the entire front office and gave him all the reins, so he chose to stay with Chicago. I 100% agree with you on that. I would love to see, is it Otzelberger from Iowa State?
Yeah, that's an interesting choice there too. But I mean,
I don't know that he would do that
he
because
gave his comments. He's been asked about potentially leaving. His comments. A lot of coaches say, "Oh, I'm in it for the long haul," and stuff like that. Like, his comments were pretty emphatic.
yeah, I think he got paid. I think he got paid a little bit more to stay with Iowa State, but man, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if this truly is who they decide. Because I wouldn't mind Jacque Vaughn, I think, but man, when he had his opportunity to coach, it just didn't feel like it felt like he treated it like an NBA game, and I think college basketball is just completely different. It still has a different coaching strategy, and yeah, you let the kids play, but at the same time, there's a lot of coaching that needs to go into it, and he almost kind of like at times it felt like he was just standing off to the side, letting them do their thing and treating it like an NBA game. So I like Jacque Vaughn though. I think he'd be a good candidate for sure. Jeremy Case, I'd be interested. I don't think he would get it right away because he hasn't proven himself as a head coach, but that's another one to probably keep an eye on as well. But Kyle, man, I appreciate you coming on. I really appreciate you talking Kansas basketball with me. I could have done this all by myself, but I don't think it would have been as exciting. So I appreciate you coming on and doing that. We wrap up every video the same way. Where can everyone find you?
Follow me on Twitter at Kyle Collier _810. Find me here on Lucas's channel. And then my day job is producing the program with Soren Petro on Sports Radio 810, weekdays 2 to 6.
There it is. And I know tons of people listen to it. So head over and listen to it. Man, it's incredible, especially on McDowell days and passing days. I know we're talking college basketball, but man, if you're a baseball fan, you got to tune in. So we end every video the same way. Have a good day.